looking at, in fact, is more than one cottage, isn't it?
It's 3 cottages amalgamated in the 1960s.
And we were very fortunate in that somebody who was of great importance historically, locally, a great historian, had the presence of mind to get them preserved.
A chap called Walter Rye, who bought the cottages and conserved and restored them about 1905.
Because he was a great man for publishing books on Norfolk, wasn't he?
Fantastic collection, yes, yes. So he was a very important contributor to our understanding of the heritage of the county now.
Mm. I mean, these look quite out of place today, don't they? They're so small, and yet they're so vital to the history of the town.
Well, if you walk down Church Street and get to the bottom and turn left, you're then confronted with this extraordinary building that's totally different from anything else you will see in Dereham. A small cottage in the middle of much taller, much later buildings, and that makes it very special.
Because it's dwarfed by the church, isn't it?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, yes, yes. We don't know exactly what date the cottages were put up. Sometime in the 16th or probably the early 17th century. But people argue about that, and that in itself is fun because you can take different points of view and discuss the various possibilities.
Now, you're a great archaeologist, so I mean, I would have thought you looked at all the pinpoints around it and say, well, I think that beam would be so and so, whatever.
That's right. The southern end has a jetty sticking out, and that's the oldest bit. Then the northern end came second, and the chimney stack, as you see today, facing towards the church, and then the gap between was filled in later. So we have 3 different stages when the row of cottages was built.
Well, it's so good it's preserved. Now it's owned by the Heritage Trust, or is it owned by the council?
It's owned by a conservation trust that just own these cottages, but then it's managed by the town council, who are responsible for the repairs and keep it in good order, and they let it to the Dereham Heritage Trust for a peppercorn rent.
Mm. And how long has it been a museum?
Since the 1960s, I think.
Mm. I did note in the details I had, I thought it was a long time ago to have a museum.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I think, yes, we're very lucky to have it now.
Yeah. And is it well used?
Yes, it is. It's open 3 days a week, and it's volunteer manned. And it depends, of course, on finding volunteers to open it for us, but it's usually open 3 days a week.
Now, with a finite space, how do you manage to make certain that the things that are important to Dereham come on show?
Oh, well, we have a much larger collection than we can have on show. And we have a separate archive centre, which is in the town hall. And most of our collections are up there. And then we select stuff from that centre and bring it down for various displays, which are changed here in the museum.
Now, you're chairman of the trust. It must feel quite different for you because you're used to seeing buildings that have long since gone. You're just looking at the footings.
Well, these are very modern by most of what I've studied. Yes, that's right, that's right, that's right. But it's great to have it. It's a great survival for the town. It's a marvellous building and it's well worth a visit.
So how do the townspeople take to the museum? Are they really interested in the town's history?
Well, we had an opening with the mayor recently, and lots of people turned up for that, which was great fun. And I think a lot of people didn't hardly realise we were here until the publicity went out in advance of the opening. And that was a very rewarding occasion.
Now, it's called Bishop Bonner's Cottage. Well, is that a bit tenuous as to whether he was anything to do with it? I mean, he was called Bloody Bishop Bonner, wasn't he?
Oh, yes, I'm afraid he was. He was. He burned quite a few Protestants at the stake.
Not Dereham Protestants, I hope.
No. But there may be no direct link actually, because his date is very early, and we're not convinced that actually the cottages were built that early. At least I'm not. But other people will have a different point of view. Mm. There's a date of 1502 and the pargeting on the outside.
Now, pargeting is a very unusual subject for this part of Norfolk. We get lots in Suffolk, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's very unusual up here. And I don't think the date of the cottages is properly reflected in the pargeting on the outside. 1502 would be very early. And I think at some later stage, perhaps in the 18th century, they decided to put the pargeting on the outside with that date, believing that they could demonstrate that it went back to Bishop Bonner's time.
Mm. Would you like to just explain briefly, for people like myself who don't really understand pargeting, I think it's a form of plastering?
Yes, it is. It's a very ornate form of plastering, where various elements of the decoration are stuck onto the plaster. So you make them in a mould and then stick them on to create the decoration.
A type of applique?
Yes, that's right.
But I mean, that has to be pretty solid stuff to stick to the exterior of a building.
And bits now and again fall off.
Do they? Did they have some patent glue like cow dung or something to put it on with?
I've no idea, but there's a bunch of grapes that has fallen off from the vine scroll decoration, which I gather is somewhere preserved in the town hall and needs to be stuck back on. It's a raise, and I think without that pargeting, nobody would realise how significant the building was. With slum clearance in the 20th century, and it would have been pulled down. So it's wonderful it has survived because, I think, of the pargeting.
Well, again, as I say, in Suffolk it's commonplace really to see pargeting, but here in Norfolk,
not
a bit
here.
unusual. Yeah.
Not up here.
So over the years you've had various industries in Dereham, and do you reflect that within the museum?
Well, the two industries in particular we reflect. One is hobbies, and anybody of my age will probably remember, particularly a boy at the time would remember receiving Hobbies Weekly once a week with fretwork designs on. And Hobbies was a great success in the town last century. And of course Metternich Clocks, which was an offshoot of Gentique. They're both famous industries in the town. Of course we have others like Crane Fruhoff that made trailers. A whole range of industries, nearly all of which have now gone.
Yeah. You couldn't get a trailer in here though, could you?
You could not get a trailer in here. They're great old things, those trailers.
They're great old things, as you say, yeah.
And
They take up a lot of old room, don't
they do. And I remember when I was small, sometimes these great trailers were driven, pulled through the town, and they were quite a sight to see these great trailers coming to the town on their way to their customers.